StarTech of Canada, beware. Montana will not have you here. Your gas drilling poisons the air. Your sewer factories spew despair. The earth, it is a living tree. Behold our mountain front so free. You drive your drill from Calgary. You will not take this land from me. The souls of Indian blood arise with songs the cowboys harmonize. They'll break your drills from Calgary. You will not waste this living land. StarTech of Canada, beware. Montana will not have you here. Your greed and cunning we don't fear. You will not claim our elk and bear. Behold our solidarity. We pledge our lives, our honor, all. This rocky front is wild and free for all eternity. StarTech of Canada, beware. Montana will not have you here. Your gas drilling poisons the air. Your sewer factories spread despair.
My name is Mike Judd. I'm an outfitter. I've been doing that for about since 1968. And during my entire life, I've watched the oil and gas industry taking over what is the very best part of the Canadian Rockies that I live in right here. It's an extension of the Rocky Mountain front. Really, we're only about 100 miles north of the front in Montana. Less than that, actually. It's the very same type of country. It's incredibly productive mountains with Chinook winds that keep the hills open for wildlife, and it was, prior to the 1950s, the home of some of the best wildlife in North America. The world record bighorn sheep came from right here, just a few miles south of here, and there are numerous elk and other animals in the Boone and Crockett books, trophies that came from this part of the world. And since the first exploratory wells were drilled here on in the eastern slopes, about 160 wells have been drilled up to this date with no end in sight. Right now, currently Shell Canada, who is the biggest player here, has an application in to drill 6 more wells in this immediate area. The well site that you're looking at here is a hydrogen sulfide producing well, which is one of the most deadly gases known to humans. As little as 500 parts per million can kill you. It's transported in pipelines for roughly 40 miles from here to the processing plant. It crosses through all kinds of privately owned land as well as public lands. And just the sheer risks associated with pipelines are something that the industry plays down substantially, but they're very real. This pipeline that we're standing next to has had over 40 sections of pipe replaced in the last couple of years, and this is all due to corrosive materials that are associated with the gas production. The wells themselves are always accompanied by roads and pipelines and power lines. There's an endless amount of infrastructure associated with it. When the first seismicking occurs, people are led into the trap of believing that there will be very little in the way of development on the landscape. The fact of the matter is that it does nothing but escalate over the course of years. As the wells deplete, more and more infrastructure is involved in extracting it. And these well sites have to be huge, the lease sites have to be huge to accommodate big equipment. It takes over 40 truckloads to move a drilling rig onto the land. The oil companies are the most powerful corporations in the world. They're international corporations. Shell Canada's major shareholder is Queen Wilhelmina of Holland. The British royal family has shares in it. These are extremely influential people, and they have power at the highest levels in all governments. So in our experience here in Alberta, they've been virtually unstoppable. We have never done anything yet that has stopped them. And I'd like to, not alarm Montanans too much, but unless you form an absolutely rock-solid coalition of organizations and individuals and prepare to stop this thing at the front, at the outset, you have very little chance of stopping it thereafter, because once seismic is underway and exploration, the companies have a stake in the land. They become stakeholders. The corporations consider themselves citizens. They'll be at every land use planning process that occurs from then on with the input into it. And they've done that here with devastating effect. They've fractured communities. A big part of the people here work in the industry, so they won't say anything about it, even though they will come up to you and say, well, you should see what they're doing now. They won't say anything for fear of losing their jobs. Or I think if somebody had parachuted into this area in 1950 when the first gas well was being drilled and said, here's what you will have 50 years from now down the road in the Canadian Rockies, people would have been shocked. They likely would have organized to resist it, but as time has gone on, there's been this gradual attrition in the landscape. Who can say which well site or which pipeline or which roadway led to the destruction of wildlife, resource, or fisheries? No one can. I live 300 yards from this sour gas pipeline that we're looking at right here, and when it was first put in the ground, the Energy Utility Board assured me that it was state-of-the-art pipe. The company gave their word it was the best that they had. 2 months of operation, and a Shell employee came by and notified us that there was a sour gas leak right beside my house. And I asked him, well, what should we do, evacuate? He said, yes, I would, if I were you, and which we did. A couple of weeks or maybe a month later, a cow and a calf wandered over another portion of the pipeline, and the owner found them dead several days later. Fortunately, she had enough sense to realize that what likely had occurred and didn't go anywhere near it, or possibly she wouldn't be here either. This is deadly gas. It's the deadliest gas, one of the deadliest gases known to man. And we live with that constant threat from it. The companies play it down incredibly. They portray themselves as being very environmentally friendly and conscious of people's concerns, and they're always doing open houses and round tables with people, but essentially they get what they want. In the view of the regulators, the only value there is dollars. The only value that there possibly can be is the amount of dollars that the province accrues from oil and gas. It doesn't matter about what's on the surface or how it's changed forever.
StarTech of Canada, beware. Montana will not have you here. Your gas drilling poisons the air. Your sewer factories spread despair.
It's Wednesday, June 23rd, 2004. We're on Highway 200 in western Montana. We're rolling towards Ovando. There's the Blackfoot River out there. After Ovando, we'll come to Lincoln, Montana, home of the Unabomber. I expect to be in Lincoln in a few hours. It's about, maybe 36 miles from here. From Lincoln, within a couple of days, by Saturday, well, I hope to be in Augusta, Montana, on the Rocky Mountain front.
Money shouldn't be an issue in everything we do in this world, and especially short-term. Oil and gas come in and rape and pillage and leave. They don't really care. StarTech of Canada, they don't care what they do to our Rocky Mountain front. They're looking for money, plain and simple money. They're not out to save the world and how wonderful they are. They've got our natural gas. We're sitting in our houses and all warm and cozy in the winter. Nah, they're after money. They're not out to, they don't care about us one iota. The guy that sits on top of that cat and dozes a road up the face of Blind Horse Canyon, he doesn't care. He thinks it's cool. If they want to continue, if they want to go, they've already destroyed a large portion of Canada. Let them go wipe it out if that's what their goal is. But leave our front alone.
Drilling on the front would take natural species of grass. Some of these types of grasses can never be rejuvenated. Then you look into the type of land that they're talking of drilling on now, right up under the cliffs. It's real high and remote, pristine if that's what you want to call it. I call it just beautiful and wonderful country. That the noise factor alone will move the goats. And when we was up at this wild horse drilling site, just here a week or so ago. I'd never been there. I rode up to take a look at it. It's just under the cliffs, just under the Slide Rock area. It's ridiculous to even think of drilling there, even from the aspect of tearing up machinery to get there. I can't believe people would want to do it. Anybody that sees the country or rides the country or has any feeling for the land itself would not even consider drilling there.
And StarTech has such a nasty reputation. Jesus, they have just raped and pillaged and, failed to reclaim places. And, and run out and have failed to pay taxes and done all sorts of things. I mean, they've got a terrible reputation. So why we would trust them with our, best land, the Rocky Mountain front? I mean, it's just insane.
If this happens at all, how much gas are we talking about? I mean, I've heard that it's enough to run the country like for 4 days or something.
Yeah, it's been all over the map. Nobody can understand why StarTech would want to do this for that little amount of gas. And I know there are all sorts of, tax breaks and things that wildcat developers can reap even if they don't find anything. The tax code's set up so it's advantageous for them in order to encourage them doing these stupid things. So maybe they're just, trying to do it for that benefit. I don't know. But yeah, anywhere from 2 days to 4 days. A week is the most I've ever heard. Certainly doesn't seem to be worth it.
The Canadian company StarTech, I think they're from Calgary, they went to drill for oil and gas in the Blind Horse area. And I don't know, it's just weird to me because I went up there the day that there were some BLM people up there, and then my dad and I and some people from the company, I think, and we were all up at the site, and they were sort of like figuring out what they wanted to do, kind of making a plan or whatever, and I couldn't see why you would want to take anything from that land. You just sit there and it's just total peace. It's something that you can experience. I mean, the rest of the world, it's crazy, but I mean, right there, you can just sit and be. And people say, well, you have that kind of advantage on all the Rocky Mountain front. But I think to take part of that away is just, I don't know, it's just ruining something. And another time my dad and I we climbed up Shoto Mountain, which is right over the site. And we looked down and there were some people down there and whatever. And I couldn't imagine having roads being built, tons of roads, a lot of noise with that, kind of ripping up the land and doing whatever they're doing. And being on top of this mountain and just thinking, what, is this, what's going on here? I mean, we have so little left of the earth that has not been ruined. And I think what we have left, we definitely need to preserve.
We're talking about ruining a heritage, something that's irreplaceable. And so we have to designate it. If it's special legislation, let's do it. If it's wilderness, let's do it. We cannot continually face this threat every 5 or 10 years about somebody that wants to go in and exploit it.
Geologically, we're not what Canada is. We have small pools of gas where they have larger pools. We've had a lot of drilling here over the last 100 years and none of it's been very successful. So I think there are many factors that would lean against it in an economic sense and environmentally. I mean, there couldn't be a more sensitive place that they could even consider drilling, and I think most of the big companies know that. And so I think that there are other avenues that would be certainly more effective in the long run. Regardless of where you stand, if you're just looking at it and saying, what's the best thing we can do here? Protect, maintain what we already have for its unique characteristics. The economic incentive really isn't there. Let's find a way to get out of this and move on to something else.
My name's Carl Raupold. I live on the ranch that my grandfather started in 1882. The Rocky Mountain Front's been our home for 122 years. 52 years of it has been my home. This has been my whole life here. I'm a horseback almost every day on the front, taking care of the cattle and stuff. That's the lifestyle I've chose. That's the lifestyle I want to pass on to my sons and my grandson. And this place is very important to me to preserve. I enjoy the wildlife that mixes in with the cattle on the ranch, the big bears, the deer, the elk, and every bit of it. The reason I'm fighting so hard to protect this is, like I say, this has been my family's whole life. I don't want to spit on my family's life and become industrialized. The Rocky Mountain Front has, with its hard grass, its clean air and clear water, have provided a good home for my cattle, and I want to continue to keep it unpolluted. We want it to stay in its native state the way it was always made, and that's one of the most important things to me, is that this little piece of wild ground up here doesn't get industrialized or subdivided. This is so important that everybody in the United States of America gets involved, because this clean water from the Rocky Mountain Front reaches the people on the East Coast, whether they realize it or not. And this is their land as well as it's my land. And we need everybody's help to save it and preserve it and keep it the way it always was, the way it always should be. It needs to be protected forever.
But that's where the road's going to be to get up here to do the drilling on this blind horse drilling site. It's going to take some major work. You get erosion that comes down into that little lake. There's just no question of it. Just a poor deal all the way around. Some of this country up in here is pretty pristine. Little valley right just this side of the lake and this side these bull pines is where the road comes right up through to get up into here. They call this thing a road, but it's actually just a 2-track and solid rock. It's going to take some major work around here to get anything in it. The boulders and stuff, it's so steep, it's unbelievable. You'd have to have a D9 or a D10 on each end of this semi to bring it up. And the soil is so thin in these areas that I don't see how you could ever reclaim it.
What's going on at Pincher Creek, and from a distance of about a mile away in the plain, I thought, I wonder what that huge yellow building is. It looks like a huge 3-story building. And we come up on it and it's sulfur piles. And it was outrageous. You know, the wind on the Rocky Mountain Front is incredible. And it was obvious from the air how much of that sulfur pile had blown out. And I noticed, being in the livestock business and being associated with that for a long time, that there's no cattle downwind of that. There's cattle around there, but they're quite a long ways and they're upwind from those piles. And I just can't imagine how that affects water quality, how it affects the livestock, and how they go back into the food chain. It's kind of a frightening thing, and especially that the Canadian people don't really have a say in what happens up there in these instances. We don't want that to happen here. And I'm not so sure that StarTech understands how our process works, that we go through this environmental impact statement, and at the end of that, it's probably going to be litigated. Badger 2 Medicine, a good example, 22 years that some of these leases have been stalled off, and we'll continue to do that. The solution is to get rid of the leases. And we want to see our delegation do something about that, is to buy out, trade out, swap, however it might be. Just get rid of those leases, retire them forever so we don't have to worry about it. And concentrate instead on an economy that's not going to devastate our landscape. And this is not just something for us Montanans, or us that live in Teton County, or us that live in Choteau or Augusta or Dupuy or Bynum. This is for everybody. This is a national treasure that we have. And it's not just for people in the United States either. This is a world treasure that we have. A place that's so unique that you can go out and see vast herds of elk and bighorn sheep, and the grizzly bears come out on the plains. We don't want to lose that. We don't need to lose that. We need to keep what we have. StarTech doesn't need to be in Montana. We don't want them here. They're used to working in Canada, where there are no environmental regulations. It's a very sad affair.
It's a hell of a trailer. I like the slam latch better than anything.
Is that Ginger?
Yeah. Feet in the stirrup, like that. Right?
Okay.
With your feet down, your heels down.
Heel down.
Yep, like that. Toes kind of twisted
Pointed
out a
up.
little bit. That'll give you some balance. When you go, you just kick her a little bit, you go. If you're going to go to the left, just turn like this. Like that. Go to the right, you do that. So you
Hey,
lay
Ginger.
the rein against the opposite way you want to turn.
Wait, say that again. What's that opposite way?
If you're going to turn this way, put your rein against the left side of the neck. It goes
Oh,
to
if
the
you
right.
want to go to the right. Okay.
If you want to go to the left, put it against the right side. Okay? Boom. When you stop them, you just say woo and pull up, and then give the rein back to them. If you keep the rein tight, they're going to back up. You see what I mean? It's your steering gear. It's your brakes. It's your brakes and your turning.
You look good up there.
And well, goddamn this thing. You'll see a bunch of wheel screw on there, but that's the only way you know.
Okay, come over. Come on, doggy. Just follow that guy. Tailgating, you know. You're tailgating, Ginger. Whoa.
3 mule deer bucks. They're standing right on the road, going up the Blind Horse, where they're gonna put the road to go drill up the Blind Horse site. These are all pretty nice mule deer bucks. Again, it's just a bachelor group of just bucks, and it's almost dead on the site where they're gonna put the road. Your horse is constant brakes on this thing, and they think they're gonna get a semi up here. I don't think so.
This is a road up to the StarTech drill site.
We're within a few feet of where StarTech of Calgary plans to level out a 4-acre pad covered with gravel. As you pan back to the northwest, you'll see the magnificent peaks. You will also look at the knobs where the mountain goats breed, as well as bighorn sheep, deer, elk, mountain lions. I have seen lynx in this old growth forest right above us. The poor Canadian lynx have never even been thought about. There's also wolverines here. There is just about anything imaginable in the name of wildlife right here. With the drilling, the pickups pulling up, the big trucks pulling up, the water trucks pulling up. This goes on every day. And they plan on doing this over a 3-year period, not a 1-year period. From this gravel pad, they plan on drilling 3 wells. 1 straight down, 1 to the north, and 1 to the south. And it will be done over a 3-year time period. So instead of just coming up and disrupting 1 year, they're going to come up and disrupt 3 years.
I've been around the world a few times, and I've seen mountain country. I've seen the Himalayas. I've been almost up to the base camp of Mount Everest. Seen the mountains of New Zealand. I've seen Kilimanjaro and the Alps in Europe, and there's no place like this. This is God's country up here. I just like to see it left alone.
It's June 31st, 2004. And in a few days, according to this Acantha paper, there's going to be some big doings on Independence Day in the city here. Rodeo and all kinds of activities.
200 years ago, we were pushed aside and our land was taken from us. And it literally was taken from us. There's no two ways about it. Just like we've invaded Iraq, we've gone in and pushed our values on other people and said, it's our way or the highway. Your values are no good. We're going to come into your country. We're going to set things up and take over. That's what they did to all the Native American tribes. And now it's happening to them in this way, that we're being invaded by all the corporations. First, we were kicked around by the Europeans when they took over the land in the first place. And now we've got StarTech of Calgary, a Canadian company coming down here, a Canadian company with a proven poor track record of not mitigating the country and the landscape that they have destroyed. I mean, those people on that side of the border are telling us that they have not done a good job. They have not kept their promises. Some things in this world should just be left alone, just for their intrinsic value.
The souls of Indian blood arise with songs the cowboys harmonize. We'll break your drills from Calgary. You will not waste this living land. StarTech of Canada, beware. Montana will not have you here. Your greed and cunning we don't fear. You will not claim I'll convey. Behold our solidarity. We pledge our lives, our honor, all. This rocky front is wild and free for all eternity. StarTech of Canada, beware. Montana will not have you here. Your gas drilling poisons the air. Your sewer factories spread despair.